Well. Welcome to another episode of SKST Radio, and I am Cammie Grayson, and you're tuned into the Cammie Grayson Show. And today is Authors Network, and I have a very, very good friend I just met actually in person today in person, but I've been talking to him for a few weeks and trying to get him going. But he goes by the name of Anthony Owens, and he wrote a book called Syrup Sandwiches. I love it.
Thank you.
Anthony, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming.
No problem. So, how was your day?
My day was wonderful. I was looking forward to this evening.
So was I. I couldn't even sleep. I was so excited about this opportunity. So, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, we want to learn about this book, and also we want to learn about this golden seal that you have across here. Can y'all see that golden seal? We want to learn about all of this.
Well, Syrup Sandwiches, Choose Not to Give Up is an award-winning book by Next Generation Indie Awards. Came in first place in that category for BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. So I feel really honored to say that my book is an award-winning book for people of color.
Nice. Absolutely love it. Okay, so we're going to get into roll the sleeves up and go and get into it.
I got my, I can do that.
Yeah, so let's roll these sleeves up. Okay, so I had the pleasure of listening to 8 chapters of the book so far. So, yeah, so I don't want to be everything disclosed because I still want to, have my ending, but for our viewers, I want them to learn about the book. And then I also want them to learn about you. So we're going to start off with you and then how you got to this.
Yes.
And so the beginning, the middle, and the end. Then we're going to get some words of wisdom, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Okay.
I just got to conjure them up, right? But no, thank you. I was raised by a single parent. And my mother wound up having 2 more kids, my brother, obviously, and then my sister. And we struggled financially. We lived in Brooklyn, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I was born in Georgia, my brother and I were both born in Georgia, and then we wound up moving to New York when I was 2. So we struggled because my mom she was young. She was like 21 years old, and she didn't know the streets of New York. She didn't know anyone, and so financially we struggled, immensely. And so the reason why I came up with syrup sandwiches because oftentimes we had to make sandwiches out of condiments like ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise.
Oh my gosh.
And syrup. And I particularly enjoy syrup.
Of course, it's sweet.
It was sweet. It was good, right? So I called the book Syrup Sandwiches. But I don't want people to be fooled by the title because the book has nothing. It's not about food. The book is about the traumas that we all go through in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
The struggles.
Absolutely.
Because I dealt with domestic abuse, single parenting, fatherlessness, discrimination, bullying, poverty, and death, right? I've seen a lot of stuff in my life that I probably shouldn't have.
Right.
And a lot of people go through a lot of those difficult situations. But I want people to know that they don't have to be defined or defeated by their traumas and their difficulties and their challenging situations.
Mm-hmm.
That they shouldn't be defined by them. They should choose to believe in their God, believe in themselves, and then choose not to give up.
Mm-hmm. You have a powerful mother. Your mother was strong. From what I've heard in the story, she was a phenomenal woman. And so strong. The religious background and that she was able to keep that going and instill it in you guys, and I still think about the walk to church, I can only imagine, so the audiobook guys, I'm not saying not to buy the book. I would say buy the book and listen to the audio because the narrator was really, really good.
His name is Malik Washington. He's actually here in Virginia Beach. He as a matter of fact, he's on my second book right now called Reasons, but he is a very good narrator. And like I said before, there was a story about this narrating part, right? Because I went to the studio thinking I was going to be, narrate my own book, and it turned out horribly. So fortunately for me, Malik had his own studio, and so he had done narrating before. So I asked him to do mine, and it worked out great. So.
Oh my gosh, he's good. He was really, really good. So I'm really curious because now I think I'm ready to take my book to the audio world as well. And so it's very exciting. When we were talking about that a little bit earlier before the show actually started and different things. But let's get back to syrup sandwiches.
Sure.
So let's talk about mom. Let's talk about mom.
My mother, unfortunately, her parents, she didn't learn a lot from them, or maybe they didn't know a lot, because her father wasn't there for her. Even though he was around, he wasn't there. He wasn't present. He wasn't active. And so a lot of things that she could have learned that could have, trickled down to help us, didn't happen.
Right.
And so, like I said, she was a young mother. And so having gone through so much, and then she wound up getting into bad relationships. And so I think that's one of the reasons why this other book that I'm writing called Father Matters, when you have someone in your life that actually takes time and spend quality time and is present in your life, it can make a big difference, because you need someone to help you grow, help you develop, give you that nurturing that you need. And she didn't have that. So she struggled in that regard, but she was a God-fearing lady. She believed in the Lord. And I believe that was one of the things that helped me and my family get through the things that we had gotten through.
Right. Now, so she was, I want to say she was one of the usher board members, right?
She was the usher, yeah.
Yeah, and so she, I'm telling you this, the story just makes you feel like you are there. You are a part of what's going on. And I can easily see this story being turned into a movie. I really can.
Well, that would be great. One thing I thought about as I was writing it, the things that I was going through, I realized that I couldn't have been, or my family couldn't have been the only one going through it. So I knew that once I got this book out there finally, that a lot of people would be able to relate to it on so many different levels, because a lot of people have had some really checkered past, if you will, some bad experiences. And so they'll be able to relate to it. And it may even take them back to when it was not so good, but then they'll be able to look at what they've been through and where they are now.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. So let's talk about your siblings.
My brother, he and I were very close growing up, as you'll see in the book. He's doing well with his life. My sister, she was the one that was a little bit more difficult. She wound up having 2 children. She never really got that structure, the guidance that she needed, because my mom was basically giving her the same treatment that her parents were giving her. So allowed her to do whatever she wants. And so her life didn't turn out as well as it probably could have. But she's still my sister. Yeah.
Well, so do you think growing up as, the older brother, did you guys contribute to helping at all? Or
well, we did what we could do based on what we knew, right? When you're young, there's only so much that you know, especially when you don't have any guidance or anyone giving you any really concrete knowledge. Family, except for 1 or 2 that were away in the military, they were all abusive. They were non-caring. They lacked empathy. They lacked support. They lacked a lot of things. And so I couldn't reach out to any of them for any advice, anything. And so a lot of times I had to make the decisions were based on what I knew and what I did. And obviously, if you don't know a lot of things, or you haven't learned a lot of things, sometimes you make a lot of mistakes, right?
Right. You don't know what you don't know until you figure out you don't know it.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
So, man. So, this is it could be like a tragic story, but I feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, but I haven't finished the whole book yet. But I do feel like by looking at the man that's sitting right here next to me, and that's why I say I feel like it's a light at the end of the tunnel, because now you're able to share and teach and instill things that you went through, because now you know, right? At the end you didn't, but now you know. And so how do you feel like you've contributed to helping society today with this story?
Because of the things that I've gone through and how difficult they were for me, I don't want to see anyone else go through those things. And so what I do, I go to the schools, I talk to the youth, and I talk to anyone that's willing to listen. I go to the homeless shelters, and I share the word of belief, self-belief, believing in your God, and choosing not to give up, because oftentimes giving up, is usually a choice.
Right.
And so I want people, because I believe in, Cammie, listen, I want to say this. I believe in people, and I believe that we are stronger than sometimes we believe ourselves to be. And a lot of times we don't find that out until we're actually going through something really challenging and difficult. And the power of people, it amazes me. And sometimes people don't believe enough in themselves, and they quit too easily. And so when the pandemic happened and all those terrible things that people were going through, losing their loved ones, being turned upside down financially, a lot of people lost a lot of hope, right? They gave up, did things terrible to themselves and to others. But I want them to realize that it doesn't have to be that way, right?
Right.
You can go through whatever you're going through because it's not going to last forever.
Right.
But if you quit, you'll never know what you could have accomplished.
Right. And I'm gonna have to agree with you on that because, like I was saying earlier, SKST just celebrated 31 years.
Wow.
And that's not steady. That's Cammie going through life, Cammie with children, Cammie with husband, but I kept being consistent with SKST. Even when I took a break, I was still there because we were radio before, just Blog Talk Radio. And so that's where the radio aspect of SKST radio came from. And now we're radio and podcast. Now we're going into TV. So, it's been a struggle, a constant struggle. And like you said, if that wasn't on my heart, and I felt like that's something that my God wanted me to continue to do, because as you know, we try to help. Our goal is to help get the word out for people like yourself, who's actually writing and doing things to help the community. We don't charge. We do charge our hosts, to come and do their own show in the studio. But as far as our whole well-being, I don't think we have a host that's on our roster that actually charge for someone to come in and they help. I don't think we have anyone that does that. Everyone is like-minded. Everyone is spiritual based. Everyone is not in it for themselves, but to help one another. That's what our network is about.
And I'm glad, that you're doing what you're doing because it's making an impact in people's lives, because sometimes people just don't have the resources to do those things and pay for them. And this book is bigger than I am.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's so much bigger than I am, because I believe right now, from what I've read and the people that I've spoken to, everyone that has read this book really enjoyed it because they find themselves in it and they can relate to it. And even if it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter where you were born.
Right.
I just so happen to be in Brooklyn. You could have been in Oklahoma, Texas,
right.
Kentucky.
Right.
Poverty is real. Domestic abuse is real. Right. A number of the things I've gone through happens all the time, and so I want people to be able to realize that they can come out of it if they don't quit.
Right. Absolutely. Well, we're going to stop right here and take a quick break, and we'll be back after these messages. All right. If you just tuned in, you haven't tuned in too late. You tuned into the Cammie Grayson Show, and I am here with Mr. Anthony Owens, author of the plain book Syrup Sandwiches. Okay, so award-winning acclaimed book Syrup Sandwiches.
Thank you.
So DJ T Nice, can we show the world this book? There we go. All right. So this book is available on.
It's available on Amazon. Since I have a number of books, I don't want to tell everybody to go to Amazon for every book, right? So what I do is I have them go to my website. It's www.antowens.com. So that's Ant Owens. My name is Anthony Owens. So my website, I was lucky enough to get antowens.com. So take a look, everyone. www.antowens.
Okay, you got somebody live.
Hello, Rob. How you doing?
All right. So now let's go back to, when did you start understanding what was going on in your life? When did you start understanding what mom was actually going through?
At an early age, because when you're young and you're hungry, when you're young and things are not going your way and you can't afford anything, you realize what you're going through. I mean, not to say that other families around us were not going through the same things, but it impacted us because we were going through it. And I saw how my mother was struggling financially, so I chose to go get a job working at a grocery store. I was packing grocery bags at the age of 8 years old, so I could make some extra money so I could provide some, help to my mother, because she was, like I said, she was struggling. So I knew then, even at 8, that I had to step up, step my game up and do better and assist because there was nobody else to help us.
Right. So let's talk about the part where she was trying to get the church to help her. And there was it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon because I heard a similar story, and it's at Potter's house, similar story, and it's everywhere. So enlighten people on that situation.
So my mother, she was a devout Christian. She went to church. We went to church. We all went to church a lot, right? And she gave all the money, whatever little bit of money she had, she would always give it to the church. And there was times when she felt really bad because she didn't have money to give to the church. Right? I remember many times she just felt really bad. And it had gotten to a point where we were behind on the bill, on the rent, and she wanted to get some help from the church. So she reached out to them to see if they can provide some kind of assistance,
Mm-hmm.
And they basically said, no, we can't do it because if we do it for you, we got to do it for everybody else. And this had been like for 10 years she had been giving.
Wow.
And so it really.
Yeah. When I heard that, it was just, all I could do was just shake my head. How can you be a Christian and your faithful person that's in your church gives relentlessly whatever penny she has, and you tell her no because somebody else might want some help? What kind of is that?
You know what? And now, fast forward till now, right? And same thing is going on. But there's so many people that are scamming, and then you got to cut it off at some point. You cannot help everyone, and I do understand that. But then when you got someone who's been going forever, not I won't say forever, but for a lot of years and constantly giving, you would like to say, you know what, we got to make exceptions for certain people because of these reasons, or those reasons.
But it's not like they didn't see.
No, they saw.
They saw. That's the big difference. I can say that you know what. Every time I look around, he got a gold chain on his wrist and all this. That's not what they saw. They saw a single parent with these children trying to make it.
Yeah, it was a tough time, and all that did, for me, it angered me initially, but it just made me want to be more determined to keep working and keep doing everything that I could do to help. So every situation I went through that was difficult, it just encouraged me to do better.
But you were 8, working at a grocery store, sacking, and so you weren't legally working.
No, and the store wasn't paying us. It was the patrons, the customers there that were paying
wow.
us. Right? So
Giving
it's not
you
like
little tips.
Right. So we were working based off of the tips. So the store didn't mind that we worked there because there was somebody there packing the bags and doing what we had to do. But we never got paid by the store. But that's okay. I learned a valuable lesson about money, right, and the importance of money. And I felt like I was doing something good. I nominated myself the man of the house.
Yeah, you did. And I'm sure your mom was just proud of you all the way around.
I believe that she is. Yes, she is.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. So let's talk about your brother. So how do you think he handled this whole situation?
My brother was a lot more reserved than I was. I was outspoken a lot. Not too many things bothered him. It seemed like everything just flew right off of him. And to this day, he's like that. Things don't really bother him as much as me. Like things, my desire to do what I do, I really, I'm focused on helping people and just making things better. And when problems come up, it becomes a problem for me, and I like to fix it. My brother seems to just like ignore them and say, it'll be all right. And he's nonchalant. He's really nonchalant.
I was just thinking that. Yeah. So how does he feel about syrup sandwiches? You put everybody's business out there. So how did he feel about this?
Well, he doesn't feel bad about it because it's not like I lied about it, right?
Right.
So maybe he was taken aback slightly. But what I did do for some of the people, I changed some of the names.
Right. Okay.
But it's still the same true story.
Right.
There was nothing really bad about people per se, that they would say, I can't stand you, I hate you, or anything like that.
Right. But sometimes people have that pride, right?
They do. And
they don't want people to know their past. And you have those people that's so proud that, we didn't need to know that I ate syrup sandwiches for, that was my only source of food at one point. And so, some people are just not humble. They just can't get there.
And I understand that. But it's my memoir. I could write as long as I'm not defaming anyone or really saying something negative or not true about them, then I could write what I want to. And so I did, and they had to either like it or leave it.
Love it. I mean, but it's always something to think about because it's always that one person, Well, what about your sister?
My sister, that's a different story. Let me just say that she has 2 grown kids. Neither one of them work or have any licenses or IDs or anything like that. So she's her brother and I used to joke a lot. We think she used to eat lead paint when she was growing up, but I love.
I'm sure it was in the walls at that time.
In the walls,
I do remember the lead paint. Yeah.
So, but I love my sister. I wish she would. Just be more proactive and helping the kids and to do whatever they need. They're not kids; they're grown.
They're grown now, yeah.
And I reach out to them all the time to try to, encourage them, but they don't reach back out to me or my brother. So there's only so much we can do.
Yeah, and it's always one. It's always that one person in the family that you just can't reach.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me what you like best. What chapter do you like best in this book?
Wow. On the Blackout chapter. Matter of fact, you know what? And it's gonna sound strange, right? I really enjoyed the last, not the whole paragraph, but just something. Can I read something?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So this will be. So it says, as a child, you could say I was a victim. The trauma that I experienced resulted from the actions of others, from bullying and racism to an absentee father and witnessing violence. Many things in my life could have resulted in insurmountable obstacles. Yet, even as a child, somehow I knew that the way to get out of the life that I did not want and I did not create would be up to me. I could spend my time blaming my father and others who made my life difficult and embracing a victim's mentality, or I could refuse to be defeated. It wasn't fair and it wasn't my fault. Yet, I was the only one who could change my life. It wouldn't be easy and it wouldn't be fast, but I was determined that I would succeed. I decided I would be the person who reversed the negative cycle. I've come to the realization that during my fragile emotional state, the things that helped me overcome the horrors were prayer, laughter, and the belief that I couldn't allow myself to succumb to the things that I could not control. I realized that all I could do was rock and roll with each punch that life threw at me. And when it knocked me down, I knew that it was not time to throw in the towel, but rather the time to get back up and prepare myself for the next battle. Wow. And that's the very last thing in my book.
That's amazing. That's amazing. This is, like I said, I can't wait to finish the book because the part where I ended, like I said, I felt like I was a part of it. I'm probably the 4th kid walking down the street to the church, and so, but it's just amazing. And I'm so glad that you took the time to even get this out of you. How long did it take to write this story?
So it took a lot. Let me explain this. A long time ago, I'm talking about years, I wanted to write a book because I wanted to write about my life because I felt like it was, impactful and a lot of people could relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've written me 5 pages, 6 pages, just sat around 10, 15 years because I kept telling myself, I don't have a book, I don't have a book. And so, and I sat down and I just typed and typed and typed. And every chance I got, I wrote something. And it took me 4.5 months to write the entire book. The editing process took 8 months, going back and forth with the editors, making sure things flow. And so I tell people that are interested in writing, I tell them all the time, as a writer, your primary job is to get it out of your head and down on the paper. Or so get it. Once you do that, even if you only can write a sentence, a paragraph, or a whole page, every chance you get, keep writing. So your primary job is to get it from here to there. But then once you got all these pages, you're looking at it like, what do I do with that? That's when your editors come to help you move things around, make it flow. And so don't try to write a book. I tell people that all the time. Don't try to write a book, but just get your thoughts on it.
And this is to my special friend. He always asks the question, well, why do people write books? What do they write them for?
Well, there's a number of reasons why people write books. Because books, when you pick up a book, they can excite you, educate you, humor you. There's so many different things that you can get out of a book. But This one, I wanted to write it so that when people read it, that they can relate to it, because it's not something that's made up. It's stuff that's real life.
It is real life. Yeah, absolutely.
That happened and now still happening now. So I want to be impactful, and I want it to be relatable. So, but another thing, I go TikTok live a lot, and I tell people this all the time. We as individuals, we need to stop getting in our own way. No one can stop us from our own greatness but ourselves.
Right.
And when we tell ourselves we're not smart enough, we don't know enough, we're not good enough, we're getting in our own way. And I try to tell people this all the time: don't get in your own way, because you can still be as great as you want to be.
Right. And that's true. I mean, I have seen times in my life where I got in my way. I have, borderline given up. And then I just wake up all of a sudden. It's like I can't even sleep sometimes, because I know I could be doing something. I know I could be being an impact on something great. And so this is perfect. This is perfect what you could tell people. And here, choose not to give up. That's amazing. These words here are powerful.
Yes, they are. And once you get to a point where you feel like you can't give up and you're not going to give up, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. You really would, because when you say I'm not going to give up, that makes you believe that you can achieve something. And if you believe you can achieve something, you're going to keep working towards doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to take another quick break, and we will be back after these messages. All right, if you just tuned in, you haven't tuned in too late. You're tuned in to the second half of the Cammie Grayson Show. And again, I have Mr. Anthony Owens here, the author of this book called Syrup Sandwiches. Okay, how can people get this book?
Well, two ways to get it. You can go straight to Amazon and do a search for syrup sandwiches. And as soon as you start typing Anthony Owens, it'll pop up. And since I've written a number of books, I like to tell people to just go to my website, www.antowens, so WENS.com, www.antowens.com. And there you'll be able to see all of my book, all of my work. And there's a link at the bottom of each book, and you just click on it and take you directly to Amazon. So.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
And another thing, Cammie, this book is available in Audible. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to do it on Audible, because I know, this is going to sound crazy, but when I was writing this book, I realized that a lot of people don't read. They really don't. And knowing that, and as an author, you got to think of ways to
get the story out.
Get the story out. And so I figured if I went ahead and started doing Audible, those people who don't normally read or have time to read, then they would, be more in tune to just go ahead and listening to it.
Right. Well, I love it because I'm one of those people that don't have time. I'm working full time during the day, 2 positions, and then in the evenings it's all SKST. So by the time I get home, it's like lights out. It's time to start over for tomorrow. And so this is great. And like I said, the narrator is wonderful. So guys, you will be really in tune to this story once you hear it. You will feel like you are a part of the story. I know y'all seen these good movies, and you can just imagine all the things that's going on because it's so descriptive. It's kind of like, it's like a screenplay. You're going through the whole motions, and I keep going back to Walking to Church, because that was like the you can just see it. We walk ahead of Mom. You could just see and imagine that trip to the church.
Yeah, and I wrote this book, which is nonfiction. It's about my life, and then I wrote another book. The next book after that, I wrote a children's book called Raw Power about bullying.
Okay.
And since I was bullied in school, and I wrote about all those different topics that I spoke about, right? Parenting, fatherlessness, discrimination, bullying, poverty. I wanted to write something for the children, the really young children, about bullying, because they go through a lot of bullying as well. But this book right here is a really endearing book because it talks about a child who gets bullied, and he wound up going to the gym, getting stronger and bigger, and instead of beating the bullies up, he decided to forgive them, and then they became his friends because they were, first of all, they were afraid of him because he was getting bigger.
You're right.
But he could have exacted his revenge on them, but he didn't. So it's about finding forgiveness even to those who find ways to not make your life go well.
Okay. So how did you come up with the illustration for this one?
I went on a site called Fibers and I asked for some help. The guy that's on here listed, he's one of the guys that I know on TikTok. He said, and he goes to the gym, and the name of the gym was, I think it's called Raw Power. And he said, "Hey man, let's do a book." And so all he did was tell me the name of the gym, and I created the story.
From there, okay.
Yeah, from there.
So the illustration is phenomenal. Actually, Mr. Ramos did a great job with the illustration.
Well, he didn't do this guy right here did it.
Oh, Nafasa?
Yeah, Nafasa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nafasa did the illustration. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
and he did well. He did a great job. I mean, you can see the muscle bound instructor here.
Yeah.
And so this is pretty cool.
And so what I'm doing now with this book, I'm getting it made into a coloring book as well. So all of the pages that have color, that's going to be whited out, and it'll allow the children to color any color they want and also read the story.
Why they're going. That's amazing. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. So this is, how can people get this?
The same way, www.antowens.com or amazon.com, and type in Raw Power.
Nice. I like it. Raw Power.
And so what I want to do, so I wrote those two books. And I didn't want to be like a one-trick pony, right? I wanted to be able to say, you know what, I can do this. And so I wanted to try out fiction. And I've never thought about writing fiction before because I never thought I had the creativity to write and think outside the box like that. But apparently, I guess I could if you try, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I came up with another book called Reasons. Now this right here is a suspense thriller love story, right? And so
this is Reasons, the little green. So it goes to our green screen. Let me see if I can put it in front of me a little bit. Yeah.
And so this one has some SCX in it, some unalives in it.
XCX in this book.
Yeah, and some unalives and some twists and turns, and it has a number of different things in it. So the people that have read it thus far really enjoy it. Malik Washington, my narrator, is finishing up this one, and that should be done this weekend. So that'll be available on Audible as well. The children's book, let me say this. The children's book is in Audible as well, and it's in my voice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did that one. Because it was short. Right?
Yeah. So it wasn't intimidating.
It wasn't. I could do a children's book, right?
Okay.
So,
well, this is amazing. So pretty soon, so being an author, when I wrote my book, the one thing that I wanted to do in life, because I love like Stephen King, Dan Coos, all these different people, right? I wanted my book on my bookshelf. So when I wrote my first book, you know what I did?
What?
I took one of those books and I put it on my bookshelf. I walked out the room and I came back in, thumbed through the books and picked my book up. That was the best.
You should have recorded that.
Well, I didn't think to record it. It was in my memory, recorded in my memory. But I mean, that was the best feeling in the world to be able to go on my own bookshelf and pick up my book. So how do you feel about having your book on your bookshelf?
It's surreal. I never thought that I would do 3 books. Well, 4 books.
4 books, yeah.
Well, I'm on 4th one now. I thought it was going to be one and done. But then, like I said, I felt like I was leaving out the children. And then it got to a point where I said, you know what, let me try something different. So I've done nonfiction, fiction, children's book. And
so what's next?
Well, this one, the next book, I guess it's nonfiction, right? Because I'm talking about the impacts that fathers have in the lives of their children.
Right.
And I was raised by a single mother, so I didn't have a father around. I didn't find my father until I was an adult. But it was very impactful not having a father figure around, and I know how that feels, right? And from a child's perspective, a lot of times when a child is going through not having one of their parents there, sometimes they blame themselves. Sometimes, they become sad. There's a number of things that children go through when they don't have, either of their parents. And so I want to reach out to them to let them see that it's okay to feel the way that they feel. And I want to reach out to the fathers to let them know that being a parent, being a father, being a husband or whatever you are, it's important to the children because they need fathers in their lives to be active, to be present, and spend that quality time and do those things. And so, this book right here, Surf Sandwiches, for instance, right? There was a guy who I know. He came up to me one day and he said, "I want to thank you for writing Surf Sandwiches." And I'm like, "For what?" He said, "Because I see that your father was not around when you was growing up, and I have my 2 children in the home, and I haven't been spending time with them like they deserve.
Right.
And now after reading your book, I realized the significance in being there for my children, and that only made me want to write Fatherhood Matters because I knew that a lot of kids are missing their fathers, right?
Right.
And so this next book is called Fatherhood Matters,
Okay.
and this one will be out. It's going through the last editing stages right now, and it'll be out this week.
So you can see it's be looking out for this. I think this is because you got different aspects from different families, different. I think it's different race on the cover, which means he's not just catering to one.
Right.
A father is a father, right?
Exactly right.
And so just don't, put this in the box. This is something that's, love it.
Well, thank you. Because it's necessary. Right?
Yeah.
So many fathers they have these children and they're not providing for them. They're not doing those things that these kids need.
So what do you think the problem is? I think it's the cycle.
Bad parenting from their parents, not taking ownership in your role as a father,
Right.
Not caring, and not really taking the children's feelings and what they're going through into consideration because it's almost like you're forgetting about them. And that.
Well, how can you forget something you never had?
Yeah. That's true.
My dad didn't do nothing for me, so why should I do something for them?
Well, if that's the case,
you have to break that cycle.
Right. And so that's what I did. I have a son now, and I have 2 grandchildren, and I'm there for my son all the way. The only time I wasn't there for my son is when I was in the military and I was on deployment. So there was times I'm the only child, but I was working. There was a reason why I wasn't there. And so now God has blessed me with the opportunity to be able to see my grandchildren walk and spend quality time.
You boy. No. So, but okay, so the grandkids.
They're in England right now. As a matter of fact, the whole family's in England visiting her parents because his wife, she's white. My son's wife is white, and I have my kids are mixed, and so they go over there like almost twice a year to spend time with her side of the family, which is great. And they should be back this week. Okay. I'm looking forward to it. I just spoke to her yesterday on the phone, and we did a what do you call it? FaceTime. She's like, Papa.
Oh.
And it just warmed my heart. So
let's do some words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
So what can you tell someone who is trying to be where you are right now?
Well, self-belief.
Who's been through a lot.
Just know that no matter what you've gone through, it won't last forever, right? And sometimes when we're going through difficult situations, it seems like this forever, right? It always seems like it'll never end, but it will end, right? And what you have to do is outlast your problems. And what I mean by that, even though it's difficult, you got to find a way to say, you know what, I'm going to get past this. And what happens a lot of times when you go through difficult situations, it just makes you stronger and prepares you for the next situation. So all it does is builds up a level of resiliency. So don't quit. Believe in yourself, believe in your God, and choose not to give up. And you'll be amazed at what you can do.
Wow. I love it. Absolutely love it. So, Anthony, I want to say thank you for being on the show. I want to say thank you for sharing your nuggets of wisdom with us here at SKST Radio and your TikTok family and the world, because we need something that, they try to talk about this, have not been through this, and a lot of people don't have.
Yeah, writing this, it was really difficult to write this because I had to relive everything that I had gone through, but it had to be done, right? There was times when I would be writing and tears would come to my eyes, but I'm human, right? And so it is what it is, but I'm glad that I got it out there, and I'm glad it's doing what it's doing. It's making an impact. And my goal is to get it out to a larger audience, right, on a broader,
scale.
broader
Absolutely.
scale. So hopefully it'll reach the people that it needs to reach and make a difference in their lives.
I would say stay on the path, shop it as much as you can. And like I said, I feel like Syrup Sandwiches is a movie. I really do.
I've heard that a lot.
I feel like it is. And so just keep going. Don't give up. I mean, God is with you.
Yes, he is.
And so you're going to be just fine.
Well, Tammy, I want to say thank you for having me on your show. It's been a complete pleasure. I look forward to doing this again. So.
Absolutely. We need to talk about the other one. So
yes.
Got you. We got you covered. Okay, guys. This is going to conclude our show. I want to say hello to the TikTok people. Thank you guys for sticking with us through the interview and the pre-interview as well, I guess. And then I also want to thank the SKST family and, of course, DJ T Nice for making it happen. DJ. All right. Until next week, right here, SKST Radio, the Cammie Grayson Show. Tell them bye, Anthony.
Bye, everyone.